Hey guys, Matt Dog here with another video. This time I want to talk about the possibility that there's going to be new Eldlich support coming in the next couple of months. So this is not something that's announced. It's sort of a conspiracy theory on my part, but there's decent evidence to support it. So you've probably seen in solo mode that they have these tryout duel decks that they're promoting. These are basically exact replicas of a product that they're selling, where for like $20 or something in Japan, you can get that exact deck that they're sponsoring in the tactical tri-deck solo mode, that you can use like in real life Yu-Gi-Oh events as a way to like sort of get beginners to get into the game. Historically, whenever they've released these tactical tri decks, basically the formula is they'll release it. They'll get kind of either new players or people who are just new to the archetype to try them out. And then after a couple of months, they'll release new support for those decks as a way to be like, and now pay us even more to give us even more cards, which is good for us in Master Duel because hopefully that means that they'll also announce those new cards and like put them in the game. Other sort of evidence that we have to suggest there might be more Eldlich support coming in the near future. Um, right now is the year of light support. So, for example, last year was the year of fire support, so we got like Poplar, we got a bunch of all those other fire monsters. Um, and this year is supposedly a lot of light support, so there's like new Blue Eyes, White Dragon support. There's a couple new archetypes that have the light attribute. As you can see, Eldlich is also light attribute. His deck is featured in the tryout duel. He's very popular. Um, let's see here. So this is kind of an example. There's a lot of other examples as well of like merchandise that is being sold where they feature Eldlich. They know that Eldlich is a super popular archetype. He hasn't really been, it's included along with a tour guide, Ash Blossom, IP. They know that Eldlich is a popular brand. So I feel like if they're gonna announce new Eldlich support, now would be the time with the new structure deck, the Year of Light support. It's a popular deck. It's also like a deck that's pretty easy for beginners, as some of you may like have understood as you've like gravitated towards and started trying this deck out. Like you don't have to memorize super long combos. You don't even have to do very long turns. Like you just set your cards, go against your opponent, you like understand their combos and have to be strategic with where you use your board wipes, like your torrential tributes or your Huaqueros and Conquistadors to specifically take out particular cards that your opponent is using. Um, so it encourages that strategic thinking, but at the same time, it also, is relatively easy to use. It's just a cool boss monster. So, and another piece of kind of the conspiracy is they usually take a couple of years to design cards. So so like the new support, if there is any that they would announce, they would have been testing it against Snake Eyes decks like a couple years ago as they were developing Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes tends to do the thing where they like put your monsters in the back row, and Eldlich, even like without in its current form, actually has a decent matchup against Snake Eyes because this really powerful form of removal where you take a card and you lock it up in the back row, like we just use that as fuel to come back every time, and so it doesn't even matter. You can even have your Eldlich like locked in the spell trap zone, and then you can still activate a Conquistador or a Huaquero, and it can use its effect if your Eldritch is on the field as long as he's anywhere, even if it's in the spell and trap zone. So, like, he has interesting synergies to the point where there are a lot of Snake Eye decks that have gotten really high ranks in tournaments, and they'll just throw a couple of Eldritches, like, in the side deck or even the main deck. Not with any of the traps, mind you, just like Eldritch on his own, because Going second, he's really good removal. You target a particular card you want to get rid of and send it to the grave. Going first, he's just discard fodder, and then he can like grab your cards, like your Flamberge Dragon or whatever, that's locked in the back row, send it to grave to activate its effect, while also coming back as a really powerful, indestructible monster. So I think that there's a lot of potential sort of synergies or matchups that would make Eldlich interesting. So that's all kind of going into the theory crafting or like my conspiracy board of why I think Eldlich support may be coming. If it is coming, my guess is they'll announce it in a couple of months, um, after the tactical tridecks have had a couple of months to sort of circulate in the market. So while we're hoping and praying and getting our fingers crossed, waiting for potential support to come out, I'd like to show a couple of custom cards that I've created, sort of going into like examples of what I would hope that we would get. One card that I think would be really important is a field spell. So with this, I have a field spell that has Golden Land in the name, so it's searchable with like Cursed Eldland or like from banishing an Elixir in the graveyard. I think it'd be really cool to have a continuous spell or a field spell who has the aspect of being called Eldlich the Golden Lord while it's on the field. This would sort of build off of the synergies that I see where Eldlich locked in the spell and trap zone still allows you to activate Conquistador, still allows you to activate Huaquero. So something like that would be a cool way to sort of speed up the deck. Like you just like activate the field spell and already all of your traps are online. When this card is activated, you can add an Eldlich monster from your deck to your hand. So obviously I created a new Eldlich monster. Right now, there's only one Eldlich monster in the whole game, and it's Eldlich the Golden Lord, which is really interesting when you consider uh, the only other. Okay, so there's one other Eldlich monster, which is the Mad Golden Lord. Notice the wording here. It doesn't say it needs Eldlich the Golden Lord as Hugin material. It just needs an Eldlich monster plus a level 5 or higher, which makes sense because these are considered level 5 monsters. But that means that there's room for them to create new Eldlich monsters, and that'll go into another custom card that I'll talk about. But basically, field spells nowadays usually add a card to your hand in addition to like giving you advantage by having their continuous effects that are on the field as just a way to plus more and more and more. So what we want from our field spell is something that's super broken and that everyone hates and wants limited to one. Same with like the Tearlament field spell, the Kashtira field spell, and so on. So when it's activated, we get a search off, which is nice. Next effect, once per turn, you can target 3 Golden Land, Eldlich, or Elixir cards. So this includes like Eldlich monsters, obviously, in your grave or banished zone. Shuffle them into the deck and draw a card. So here I'm going off of the philosophy of the Rescue Ace field spell, which increases all of the attack of their monsters, which is a continuous effect that a lot of field spells have nowadays. And it allows them to sort of recycle resources. That's something that right now Eldlich doesn't really have. We have this card, El Dorado, which allows you to like shuffle 3 of either your Elixir or your Golden Land traps, but you can't do a combination of both, which means you only ever activate this like turn 3 or 4, and the effects aren't even really that amazing. Like you destroy all cards, including your own cards, gain life points. Like no one cares about that. Have your opponent's life points. Like that doesn't matter that much. So we need something that's better at recurring resources. So taking inspiration from the Rescue Ace field spell. The other angle you could do instead of this is you could make it so that it enables your plays. Like every time you activate a Golden Land trap, once per turn, you can also destroy a card on the field. That sort of goes in line with like the Tearlament field spell, the Labyrinth field spell, where like when you do something in archetype, you also get to destroy a card. That could be something, but I like the idea of something that recurs our resources because that's something we don't have. And then obviously this last effect is the most important. To me, it's sort of like a way to replace Lord of the Heavenly Prison, in addition to sort of like giving you a search and helping you recur resources. So this last one is kind of buried in the sauce, but it's the main reason this would be so powerful. Our opponent can't target or destroy set cards, so this isn't preventing them from attacking like our floodgates and stuff, just like cards that we have chosen not to activate yet, or zombie monsters that we control by card effects. So basically, you don't have a way to have this and zombie world, so you can't make it so that like all your monsters are zombies or something. But what this does allow you to do is make it so that your Eldlich monsters can't be targeted or destroyed. It also protects your set cards. It doesn't protect itself from all that stuff. So like your opponent can still Cosmic Cyclone the field spell. Sorry, they might hear some gardening stuff going on in the background. Um, but another thing that's nice about this guy is he's a really cool boss monster that's just like hard to summon right now. He can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, which is really nice. Like he has a good tower effect where you can steal your opponent's monsters, you know, it's hard to beat over and so on. But I think protecting him from targeting is really important in this world where like Snake Eyes and Kashtira are a thing that have a lot of effects. So uh, yeah, this is the type of field spell that I would hope that we would get. My guess is that this last effect probably makes it too strong. They would probably limit this somewhat and make it instead like enabling our plays so we get an extra pop or an extra revive or something. But um, that's kind of the idea of what I would want from that. The next custom card I want to talk about is a way to summon the Mad Golden Lord easier. So he's an Eldlich monster, which means he synergizes with the field spell. You could search it out with the field spell, for example. He's kind of like a hand trap Tearlament type deck. You can only use one effect per turn, and only once that turn, quick effect, discard it from your hand, add a cursed Eldland or a golden land trap from your deck to your hand. So this is really nice because right now Cursed Eldland is in this weird spot where you can't search it out with any of your other cards, but it does a lot of your searching for you. This way you kind of include Cursed Eldland in your searching sort of archetype. The second effect, you would have to wait until your opponent's turn to use, or if you want to use this instead, you would somehow discard it or send it to grave using Foolish Burial without getting the search off. But while it's in your grave, you can quick effect banish the monsters from your hand, field, or graveyard as material, including this card, to summon one zombie monster. So there are not very many fusion zombie monsters that exist right now. There's one new one that we're going to be getting soon that like doesn't have super amazing effects. It just gives you like an extra normal summon. So I think this won't like break the game. Really the only fusion monster worth summoning is going to be Eldlich the Golden Lord. So it requires an Eldlich monster, which obviously the Eldlich the World Eater would count as, and it requires a level 5. So if you had like two of these in your hand or something, you could use the other one in hand. Otherwise, you could use a Conquistador, a Huaquero that you've activated already. And that way, you would be able to really easily summon Eldlich the Mad Golden Lord quick effect, which is something you really need. It's really hard to summon him right now. Like, it just takes too many resources, considering that there are a million ways to summon, like, Mirror Jade and a bunch of other important fusion monsters and other archetypes, Rukalos, Rhinoheart, you know, all that stuff. So instead of creating a new boss monster, I just want to make it so that our boss monster like can actually hit the field easier. Another sort of angle of support, instead of having a card that allows us to fusion summon our boss monster more easily, we could just get like a new fusion monster, which would be I just want to pull up Okay. So there are two examples of new fusion monsters that we could sort of base it on. First is Turbulence. So this guy, you banish a couple cards to summon him. So maybe we like banish a couple of like Golden Land cards or something, and then you can set up to four cards from directly from your deck. So that would be really cool if you could set like Huaquero plus Conquistador plus like Guardian of the Golden Land, plus Golden Land Forever. So, or maybe like this would make El Dorado more searchable. Like four cards that mention Eldlich, for example. So that could be an interesting new boss monster where it just sort of gets our whole archetype online super fast. Otherwise, another example of boss monster design of like a new card we could get would be something based off Lady Lab, where as long as we activate some card generally in our archetype, in this case it could be like a continuous trap or a card that mentions Eldlich, then you can just summon it directly from your hand. As long as you control like a Golden Land card or something, it can't be targeted or destroyed. And then every turn you like activate a continuous trap or something, you can search your deck. I think it'd be really broken if you could search a continuous trap from your deck instead of a normal trap. But something like that, where you can like search out maybe like just a Golden Land card that can be activated this turn or something, like some sort of a boss monster that like gets searches off. It would have to have like probably like 3100 attack and 3000 defense or something, just like a minor upgrade. It would be a level 10 to go in context with Eldlich the Golden Lord. So something like that would be an interesting way to kind of bring our deck more online. A final example of potential support we could get. I based this off of a video I saw a while ago by a YouTuber named Got Hacks Fu, who um, basically he was creating custom cards for Dark Magician, and you create a Link 1 that can use material from your hand. His sort of inspiration is there's a lot of Code Talker Link monsters where they can Link summon using materials from the hand, or um, Ghost Trick has a Link monster that can use Link monsters that are face down as link material, so you can sort of like use alternate link summoning material conditions is not unprecedented. This would be a way where we often have Eldlich or Golden Land traps in our hand, but if we have like too many of them or something, or if we have them in our hand going first, they can sometimes be kind of bricky, so you don't always want to run too many of them. This would be a way to kind of unbrick your hand. So you link this off using a material from your hand, and then once per turn, you can set an Elixir or Golden Land spell or trap from your deck. I didn't write that in the custom card thing in this card's column. So it's like you can only do it once per turn. It kind of makes the link arrow actually mean something. And by and while you control Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can activate your Elixir and Golden Land spells and traps the turn they are set, which is more reason why the field spell being called Eldlich the Golden Lord on the field would be really nice. Like going second, you like have a conquistador in hand, you link it off to make this person this and then because it's considered a zombie, you activate the field spell. This sets the counter trap, for example. Let's see. Yeah, you set the counter trap Golden Land Forever while you control an Eldlich monster. Again, not Eldlich the Golden Lord, just any Eldlich monster. You can tribute a zombie monster, negate the activation, and destroy it. So this would mean if you have the field spell plus you link summon this guy, you could set the counter trap, and then going second, you have an Omni negate that's online. That might be a little bit too broken, I guess. Maybe it'd have to be you can only activate one of these the turn it's set per turn or something, or the card specifically it sets is going to be activated per turn. I don't know. I think this would be like an interesting way of like speeding up Eldritch and kind of like facilitating its plays more. Instead of like creating a whole bunch of new cards, you just create these kind of support cards so it can do the kind of things that it already wants to do more easily. Yeah, I think that's kind of the main things I wanted to talk about. Um, there's decent reason to be optimistic that new Eldlich support may be on the way. It's the Year of Light. They released the Trout structure deck, or the Trout tactical dual deck, or whatever, in um, Japan in real life. They typically release more support for decks that they make in other tryout decks. Eldlich himself is really popular, but he's not seeing a ton of play right now. His play style is like easy for beginners, and it has decent sort of matchup synergies with Snake Eyes, which is the previous deck that was released. So I think there's enough on the conspiracy board basically to make you think that there might be Eldritch support coming in the coming months. And if there is, I listed some of the cards we might want, like a new Link 1 that can replace kind of like the Imducks and the Link Spiders of the world that we just used to link off our Eldritch monsters once they've been summoned or whatever. Potentially a new field spell. We don't have a field spell yet. New ways of summoning out the Mad Golden Lord more easily. But I'd also be curious to hear what your thoughts are on potential support that you would like to see, and also whether you think that I'm just on a lot of copium thinking that Eldritch might be able to come out, or if you think that um, you're sort of in line with me where you were expecting Eldritch support to come out soon. Um, yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much. See you in the next video. Peace.